Virgo, hello, Amanda here. Welcome to Unseen Hands Healing. This is going to be your October shift reading. So we are looking at the shape you are shifting out of, the shape you shift into, and what that shape shift looks and feels like for you in October. So Virgo, before we pull cards, the feeling that I'm getting for you and the image that's coming to me, well, the phrase is, beware of blowing hot air. Okay, and I can't yet, we'll look at the cards, but it could be a message for you, like watch out for just like blowing hot air, which to me is sort of blowing smoke, which feels like a misuse of fiery energy, feeling frustrated, feeling anger, and just sort of like blowing off steam in a way that isn't necessarily productive. Because I saw the difference between like a dragon blowing hot air all over the place and like burning everything, and it being sort of uncontrolled spewing, versus the way that hot air is channeled to lift up a hot air balloon. Okay, so we're trying to elevate, I think, in this energy that's coming through for this month. It's an elevation from like a lateral spewing of smoke and hot air and flame, and taking that fire energy and channeling it upward and in a focused way that actually serves a purpose, which is to lift you up in this hot air balloon and to lift up your circumstances, to lift up those around you so that we can see a higher perspective. Because once you were like, in a hot air balloon, you like, I don't know exactly how it works, the mechanism, but you pull something or do something and the flame is released, and that flame is what blows the hot air and allows the balloon to continue to rise. And you don't have to have that going the whole time. There's someone operating that flame. Like, okay, we need to lift it a little higher. We need a little bit more flame. Okay, now maybe we need to lower, so we're going to lower the flame. It's like being able to control that mechanism, I think, Virgo, of letting out anger, frustration, or maybe that fire energy is like passion and intensity, whatever that is, however fire is manifesting for you, or like the need to take action, drive, ambition, okay? It can manifest a lot of ways. But there's a need to channel it very specifically in order to elevate your perspective and elevate the perspective of others, rather than like spewing laterally. Okay? Beware of blowing hot air. What a funny image. It was nice too, because once we were in the hot air balloon in the image, I was like, oh, we can see my house from here. It was like that kind of energy of like, hey, we can see our house from there. Oh, look, we can see this over here. You get in this like higher, more peaceful hot air balloon ride, and you have greater perspective, you have a higher viewpoint, you have a better vantage. Whereas when you're down below as like the dragon on the ground, just sort of spewing everywhere, you don't necessarily have the eyes to see. Okay. Virgo, that's such a Mars retrograde image, isn't it? Mars is fire energy, action energy, intensity, anger, rage, frustration, drive, creativity, ambition, all these things in retrograde, in review. We are reviewing how we channel those energies within us. So Virgo, let's see how that comes out in the cards. We're going to look at the shape Virgo is shifting out of in October. Okay. Oh. Okay, great. To reiterate my point here, we're shifting out of the storm. That's really good. We're shifting out of this. This is the tower energy. The Slow Holler Tarot differs slightly from some traditional decks, but the Storm, the Tower, this is coming through as a bit of a destructive fire energy that is not reined in any way, and that just sort of like spews all over the card in a very chaotic pattern. And yes, this kind of energy brings necessary restructuring, and it can bring necessary change, but it can be a catalyst. A storm like this, a storm sweeping through. I mean, look at the fires raging in the Western United States. This kind of fiery storm energy sweeping through is so destructive and a catalyst for change. And, it's all of these things. It's a very difficult experience and trial. And I also just want to say to anyone watching that has experienced the destructive effects of the fires, my heart just goes out with you. Okay, so we're moving away from fire energy that comes out more like a storm. Uncontrolled, catalytic, right? It's a catalyst. Catharsis, yes. Cathartic, it's a catalyst, yes. It's true. Agent of change, absolutely. But the image is to channel that in order to elevate. Tricky thing to do to try to harness fire energy, which usually cannot be tamed, cannot be harnessed. Okay, what is the shape Virgo is shifting into in October? Very nice, I like this. This is also fire energy. In this deck, the wands, which is the fire element, is branches, okay? And this is the student. So we're looking at a student of fire. The shape shift so far, Virgo, is from flames spewing out of control, fire energy spewing out of control in this like bloody mess, into bridging the gap one branch at a time, learning how to do that, staying a student, becoming a student of your own fire. Whoa. Because clearly the Virgos I'm talking to, y'all have a lot of fire. If I'm getting the image of like a dragon spewing hot air all over the place, yeah, you got hot air to spew, to be expressed, okay? And that is not a bad thing, my friend. That is passion at work. That is committed intensity and emotional involvement, and all of those things are really, really good. Now, how do we channel them in ways that don't hurt yourself and others, right? And that don't just destroy everything that you're trying to build? How can you use that fire energy to build? How can you use that fire energy to build a bridge, to bridge a gap, to connect you to other lands and other people that would otherwise feel far away? There's something here about feeling far away from others, or being unable to connect, or unable to, there's a chasm between, and instead of just spewing fire towards the other shore, it's like, how do you build the bridge? How do you channel that fire energy into something actually quite Virgoan, which is like, okay, how do we be practical? How do we be practical and hands-on about this? And actually, to me, the student of wands, the student of branches, is the artist. It is the creative energy. So you kind of have to get a little more creative with your fire expression if you're going to use it for good, if you're going to use it in a practical way that, you're building a bridge, not just for yourself, but for others. You're kind of paving a way here with your creative use of fire energy. I love that. Also, I want to bring this up. There's a little envelope, a message in this person's back pocket, and it's all red. It's outlined in red. And I see it as a love note. So I think part of this is coming from a place of love. As cheesy as that sounds. Ooh, Virgo. I just got this too. This is really intense. Oof. Again, for those of you who have experienced the devastating effects of this fire, like, oh, these fires. Here's what I'm seeing. The flames, burning, 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 raging. And then over here, look at this. The tree is barren. It's been burned, perhaps. All this wood down here is stripped of its leaves. It has been burned, but it's almost like you're taking that burned, charred remains and using it to build the bridge to the other shore, which is alive with trees, which was unaffected by the fire. That's where you're trying to go. So again, you're taking maybe Virgo, you did sort of already, or you will in October. Maybe you're working on cleaning up a mess. Again, this may be literal. We may literally be talking about the fires on the West Coast, but we could also be talking about maybe you spewed. It's Mars retrograde. Everybody's spewing. It's quite possible, my friend, that you spewed. That's okay. That's totally fine, because here we have it. I mean, I don't know. I don't know the consequences of this for you. But I'll say it's not without redemption, because here we see you picking up the pieces and using them again to build to brighter shores, to brighter days, you're going to cross the divide and mend the gap with care and love and creativity and attention. Like you're channeling that fire energy in a way that is healing and repairing and connective. This is like two-sided. It is trying to connect two parties, whereas this energy, that's one way. That's one way. That's you channeling that fire energy in one direction. This is actually trying to unite two different entities. And the image of channeling that fire energy into a hot air balloon, many people can fit in that basket and be elevated by the channeling of your fire energy rather than the lateral spewing, which kind of decimates everyone involved. Okay? And maybe only really serves yourself. Not that that's your intention, and it's hard because when we're feeling really intense emotions, sometimes it feels like we can't help it. So again, if you feel like you already kind of spewed a firestorm, there is redemption here for sure. Okay, Virgo. What does this shapeshift look and feel like for Virgo in October? One more. Okay, very good, very good. Gosh, more of this. Yes, elevate. Okay. The Traveler of Knives. I mean, look at this. Hello. Traveler of Knives, the Oracle, which is the High Priestess, and the Six of Branches, or the Six of Wands. This imagery. Let's look at this. We start with the Traveler of Knives, which, look at this. You know what I mean? You're having to chomp at the bit. It's like you're chomping at the bit. The Knight of Swords, Traveler, movement. Knights are movement, okay? You're wanting to move. It's like you're chomping at the bit to communicate something or say something. Ooh, baby, if you got this fire energy behind you, it's like you got something to say. You got something to say, Virgo. And it's just like, and there's a chain here that seems to maybe be stopping your mouth. You're stopping yourself, you're holding back. There's a line between your head, a line of pull between your head and your heart. The heart is clearly tender. in some rough emotional experiences here. The bottle is broken. There's messages perhaps that aren't quite, they're jagged. They're jagged edges in the heart. There's a wounding here, Virgo, a hurt heart that wants to speak, which is maybe why it wants to speak like this. But the brain, I feel you, Virgo. You analyze, you are Mercury, you are the mind. You come in and your brain says, don't do that. Hold your tongue. Don't just come out spewing. We have to try to channel this energy. Like, I'm speaking to somebody who probably already knows this. But when you're in this the intensity of this experience, you know, try to tell a fire it can't rage. Very difficult thing to do. I think you feel exposed in some way, Virgo, maybe because I'm looking at how like this shell used to be like this armor, metal armor around the heart, and the heart got exposed and then pew, stabby. You know, feeling vulnerable, feeling exposed maybe to the ill of others in some way. And so you're wanting to spew, wanting to correct the injustice or correct the situation. But you're struggling between the head and the heart. Do I do it? Do I not? I'm chomping at the bit, but I want to think better of it. Ah, la, 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 la. Oracle. Oh, look at these flames, right? Rising up. The phoenix rising up out of the flames, Virgo. The phoenix rising here, okay? You are elevating out of the flames, out of the ashes. Maybe again, for some of you, quite literally. With a deeper knowing, a deeper intuitive connection, and an ability to a little bit dance with the mystery is how I've been feeling the priestess energy lately, or the oracle. You know, the oracle is about predicting the future, and we can't entirely predict the future. Okay, no matter how intuitive we are, or we can get some senses sometimes, presentiments of things. There's no real way to fully know the future. We have to, the best way to feel into the future is actually to ground ourselves in the mystery of the present, right? To get intimate and close up dancing with the unknown and what we don't know. Because again, if we're students of our own fire, it means we have to be willing to have student's mind, a beginner's mind. Which means we have to admit that there is a certain amount of mystery that is greater than us, and a certain amount of control that we just simply cannot have when it comes to the forces unseen and within and beyond us. But this is a deep intuitive connection, okay? The priestess, the oracle, if that's you, Virgo, if you are the oracle, which you are, then you already know deep down inside what the right thing is. And the oracle, the moon here, it's coming from an emotional place. It's coming from, I love this red banner because it feels like the channeling of that fire. The heart is very open in this card. The intuition and emotional empathy can lead with a banner of fire, a banner of your truth, your unwavering truth, and your deep knowings and convictions and beliefs and drives to action. Absolutely. Like, those are the things that will help you rise like the phoenix. 1919. I love that. That's the sun, okay? Illumination, fire, vitality. Yes, okay? I think this is you coming back to who you are, like trying to, you rein in these emotions and learn to channel all of this intensity that you're feeling from whatever the situation is by dropping even deeper into your intuition. Frickin' meditate on it, Virgo. Sit in silence. Get really deeply in touch with yourself here. And start by acknowledging that you cannot control so much. And that's okay. Again, getting frisky with the mystery here. And then 6 of Wands, again, climbing to the top of these empty trees. that have, and there's like smoke everywhere. I mean, they've been burned. You've been burned. They've been, it's a painful situation, but victory. Six of Wands is a card of victory. You rise to the top of it. And this is, I think, that hot air balloon elevating your perspective, climbing up to the top, this vantage where you can see further. You can get a clearer view once the smoke clears. And then you can see, oh, okay, that's where I'm going to start to build. I'm going to climb back down and I'm going to go to that cliff and I'm going to build a bridge. And there we go. And that's the way forward. And what a huge shift. That's a massive shift, Virgo. From this, channeling this kind of energy into this is a feat to accomplish this month. And if anyone can do it, you can. And again, appeal to your intuitive knowings, appeal to your emotional heart, your empathy, your heart space for whatever this situation is. And also appeal to your practical side. Talk to the Virgo in you that's like, let's be practical about this. Is it really practical to spew in this way? And listen, I'm not recommending that you like stifle your emotions. That's not what this is about. It's about how do we take those emotions? Listen, go in your room or go to a therapist, spew, spew, spew. All you need, like do vent this kind of heat if you have it internally. Don't hold it inside of you because it will create a problem for all involved. This phoenix rising from the ashes is rising through the flames, wearing the banner of this emotional energy. So it's not to hide it or clamp it down. It's to express it proudly, transform it into something everybody can use, into a higher perspective that just brings victory to the whole situation and builds bridges to connect others rather than separate them. Okay. Virgo, we're going to take this into the extended reading now and we're going to get more details. I'm going to use other cards, see if we can get more specific on this energy. If you'd like to join me for the rest of this reading, click the link in the description box below and that will take you to Patreon. Patreon's an online community I've created for folks who like my work and want to dig deeper. If that sounds like you, head on over there. Please read the description when you get there so you know how to receive your extended, and I'll send you the rest of this reading for October. All right, my friends, take care. I'll talk to you soon. There's a need to let it rest for a second, okay? So that you can do some healing so your mind can find a little bit more peace. And then there's like a reawakening of the heart and it feels inspired. It feels like, okay, I still have all this fire energy, but it's out of my head where it just kind of like cycles and rages and gets a little nasty in there. Dropping it down to a heart space instead of a head space, dropping it down to a heart space. Because I think the head space can get critical really fast for mercurial people, all right? Dropping it down to the heart space is where it's actually coming from anyway, which is usually what we don't want to face, or what it feels difficult to understand is that it is actually coming from the heart. And so dropping it into that heart space, recognizing that that's where it's coming from and saying, oh, okay, so we can start over from here. And there's a way for me to express that fire that is coming from my heart instead of my head. So it may come out with more compassion than criticism.